Hi, today's Thursday, October 9th, 2025. This is my third reading of an English article, and this one is from the Professor Robert Reich. He was the professor, and I think he is still a professor at a university, but he was a cabinet member of the Bill Clinton, and he's a very renowned, and he has a very in-depth look at economy and politics and the history of the USA. Let's read his article straight from himself. The author is, of course, Robert Reich. Friends, from time to time, I burden you with some personal stuff based on my belief that our values begin with who we are and where we came from. So today, I want to get very personal and tell you why I'm so short, a condition that led to lots of bullying and ridicule when I was a kid, as pictured, which in turn helped shape who I am. I wrote more about this and many other parts about my life in my new memoir coming up short. Starting when I was around 6 years old, my mother and grandmother told me not to worry, that I was at least a head shorter than other kids my age because I would shoot up when I got to be 13 or 14 years old. Why did they mean shoot up? I pictured a magic beanstalk. One morning I would wake up and be 6'10", towering over everyone. But by the time I was 15, the magic still hadn't happened. I remained an inch under 5 feet and never got any taller. Soon after John F. Kennedy's inauguration, when the whole country seemed to be bubbling with optimism, my optimistic mother took me to see a doctor in New York who specialized in bone growth. He took a bunch of measurements and asked questions about the heights of my grandparents and great grandparents. They were all normal. Did some x rays, drew some blood samples, and 3 weeks later phoned to say he had no idea why I was so short. Reluctantly, I gave up waiting to shoot up. By the time, I wasn't particularly worried about being bullied or ridiculed, but being a very short man was not especially helpful when it came to dating. A few years later, I attended an all-male college that seemed comprised almost entirely of big young men able to swoop the inhabitants of women's colleges literally off their feet. Okay, swoop, like a swooning, like a swoop, the inhabitants of women's colleges literally off their feet, right? Swoop the inhabitants of women's colleges literally off their feet. When I swooped in, they seemed to flee, like a swooping eagle, right? That's where things stood, as it were, until some 20 years later, when my wife, about 5 inches taller than and I contemplated having children. Medical science had advanced considerably over the 2 decades because there was an answer to why I was so short. I had inherited a mutation called Fairbanks disease or multiple epiphyseal dysplasia, a rare a rare genetic disorder that slows bone growth. The actor Danny DeVito also has this condition. Normal bones grow when cartilage is deposited at their ends. The cartilage then hardens to become additional bone. But my cartilage didn't work that way. Not only were my bones short, but the experts predicted I would also have pain in my joints. I would often tire, have problems with my spine, arthritis all over. I would waddle when I walked. They were partly right. I have had problems with my hips and in my late 30s had to replace both. And a bout of grand mal seizures around the same time, which neurologists couldn't explain, and various aches and pains, which there's no need to bore you with. But the genetist explained that the odds of passing this mutation to my children were very small. And even if they had it, the odds that it would slow their bone growth or cause any other irregularities or be passed on to their own children were minuscule. We decided to have kids, and our sons turned out perfectly normal. But what's normal anyway, and why is normal so important? I've had a wonderful life. I have a loving family. I've had good friends, work that I consider satisfying and important, reasonably good health, except for the above mentioned problems. So, what if I'm very short? It made me who I am today. It's instilled in me a desire to stand up for the little guy. That's me, after all, quite literally. I'm fortunate to have grown up, or at least grown upward in a society that more and more values brains over brawn. Brawn means maybe flesh, right? Brawn. Oh, come on, Rake. What is going on, Rake? Oh, man. So, yep, it's gonna be crazy. Whoops. Here it is. Brown, right? Brown. There are still bullies in the world, of course, and sadly, some of those bullies hold important status in our society. The reason I wrote my new book is to share what I have learned about stopping them at a time in American history when we are dealing with an authoritarian bully who has encouraged bullying throughout the nation and the world. I hope you find it helpful for understanding how we combat the bullies in the years ahead and why I believe so passionately that we will. I have a sore throat year round because of stomach acid reflux. I also hope you draw insight and inspiration from ideas I offer for how to play the long game toward a better and more decent nation and world. If you would like to purchase a copy, I suggest you buy one at our local bookstore and not from a giant corporate box store that has the power to bully small businesses. I will also include a link in the comments. Many thanks. Wow, brown, right? Brown. So here, so he was very short, right? Fairbanks disease. The cartilage didn't grow at the ends of the bones. So he's 1 inch shorter than 5 feet. His wife is 5 inches longer, higher. So that means his wife is 5 feet and 3 inches. But he's very smart, energetic, and normal, right? His 2 children are growing very well. But trench, brown, boar or pig's flesh, muscles, strength, brown, head cheese, brawn, brain. Then they value brain over brawn, brawn. In one fell swoop, sweep down from the sky over bird, attack, suddenly and speedily snatch, grab. One fell swoop, right? Thanks for listening. Have a great Thursday. Bye bye.